Okay, when did you realize you were a writer?
When I was in seventh grade, I had to write a short story for my English class, and I really had fun writing that. So after that, I just kind of picked it up as a hobby and wrote a lot of short stories and fan fiction, and some film scripts that my brother and friends and I would used to try and film. And it's just been a hobby ever since then.
Okay. Tell us about your latest book, Wool.
It's called The Hool,
Okay.
and it is a horror story, um, that there is a very bizarre discovery in the woods, which serves as a catalyst for events that start to plague a small farming town 3 years later. No one in the town really knows what's going on, but the events become more uh, sinister, and people start dying very gruesomely, and that nobody really has any idea what's going on, or even the natural elements, normal natural elements like weather and stuff, start getting thrown off, um, and just kind of builds from there until the ending is quite can be quite shocking to some people.
Is it possible to explain the title without giving the ending away?
The Hool, um, it represents the entity that has arrived in this town. I don't really want to get too much into it because I don't want to
Right.
give a whole lot away.
Okay.
But the title does represent the horror that has come to this small town.
Okay. How are you? What inspired you? What made you write it? What was the inspiration?
I wanted to write a book that could scare somebody. A lot of things aren't usually very scary when it comes. There's a lot of repetitive um, storylines anymore. So I wanted to write something that played more off the fear of the unknown, and kind of have a sense of dread and mystery build throughout the story, and people wouldn't be able to quite guess where it would go or end up. Even with my Amazon synopsis, I don't really give a whole lot away because I don't want anybody to really kind of have even an idea of which direction the story will go. So I know personally I fear the unknown quite a bit, and that seems to be a big fear of a lot of people. So to mix it with a horror element, I wanted to create something where people are very unsure of what is going on, and then all these really strange things start happening and kind of gets their minds going and things.
Follow-up question.
Sure.
So the ending, is that it, or can this be? Do you see a series, maybe a part 2, part 3, or did you finish it?
This I intended for it to be a standalone story, kind of leave you kind of right when the fear is escalating, kind of like the old Tales from the Crypt or Twilight Zone episodes, where it leaves you unsettled.
Okay.
So I don't see a sequel happening. I have an idea for a short story prequel, so I'll see if that materializes.
Another follow-up question. Sorry, I'm just like
Yeah.
adding more questions.
Sure, no problem.
So could you see yourself maybe turning, because you said you and your brother used to do films. So could you see yourself, obviously once the pandemic is over, maybe turning it into a short film or a full-length film or anything of that nature?
Usually when I'm writing things, I picture them as movies in my head, and that makes it come out a lot easier. So I could definitely see this as a short film, or an episode in one of those types of the shows that I've mentioned.
Or a TV
I don't.
series?
I'm sorry.
Or a TV series?
Yeah, it would definitely be like definitely a standalone kind of just one-off
Okay.
horror story, but I can see it in my head as it would play out as a movie. I don't have plans to do anything like that, but I could definitely see the story play out on screen in my head.
Okay. All right. So what did you learn during the process of publishing your book, and give some advice to those who are thinking about it but haven't done it yet?
I have always self-published. I used to use lulu.com. That was prior to this year. This year with The Hool, I used Amazon to publish. It was the second book I've published on Amazon, and I've found it to be very user-friendly and easy to maneuver. As far as advice goes, I write what I like. I write what I would want to read. So as long as you are writing what you enjoy, it really doesn't matter what other people think. You're not going to be able to make everybody happy with anything you might write. Someone might love it, someone might not like it. I've gotten some really negative reviews on certain things that I've also got very good reviews on. So it really just depends. So if you write what you want to write, and as long as you're happy, that I think that's all that matters. Especially with me, because I treat my writing as a hobby above all else. So I like to have fun when I'm doing it.
Cool. I think it's funny you mentioned Lulu, because I'm still on Lulu, but I've decided not to publish anymore with them. They just changed their entire platform. And
yes,
prior to that, I had, like, let's see here, 5 children books on the hold, so to speak. Like, they were unpublished, but they were finished.
Right.
And I was going to publish them 2 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still there, but I have to still redo everything. And so now I'm trying to figure out, should I just leave them, because it's different, the pricing's also changed, which means I have to charge more than I want to.
Right.
So I'm kind of frustrated. And the last book I just published, I went back to Amazon because I knew I wouldn't have the issues that I had with Lulu.
That's exactly when they changed their formatting, I found it more difficult to operate in. I still really can't figure out a whole lot on there. Like, I had made a lot of my books free during the pandemic, so if people are home and have nothing to do, they can read them, and I can't really even figure out how to change the pricing back. So they're still free. So if anybody's still looking for some free books, check out mine, because most of them are free still.
Well, I was kind of upset because I was able to figure it out, but it was a book series, and I wanted every book to be $12.
Right.
With their new platform, they're telling me I have to sell it at the least $19.
Mm-hmm.
And so it messes up my flow, because now it's like, do I charge people now $20 for this book that I would prefer not to,
mm-hmm.
but it messes up the series, because I want the whole series to be the same price.
Right. Yeah. I'm going through that too. I've written a sci-fi adventure series also, and I have 1 book left in the series, which I'm hoping to publish next year. But since I can't figure out the Lulu setup now, I feel like I'll have to do it on Amazon, and that'll just like separate. Like, it'll be 6 books on Lulu and then 1 on Amazon, and it won't flow. It won't flow right.
It's annoying, but hey. I hate also the fact that there's really no way you can contact them.
No. I've tried, and I haven't had very good luck.
They were good at one point, but I guess things change.
Right.
And any advice for beginning writers, as far as, I think you kind of already talked about that, but people who say, I want to write, but they've never written. Like, they have the stuff in their mind, but they don't have any, passion to do it, or courage to do it, or whatever. How would you encourage them to get started?
I would say if you have ideas in your mind, just start writing them. It doesn't matter how it comes out at first. That's why you have rereads and edits, and I have a lot of friends and family who read over my things before I go any further than a first draft usually. If you have ideas, write them down. Otherwise, they're just always going to be up in your head, and you can figure out how to iron it all out later.
Mm-hmm. I think because someone came to me, she was like, "Oh, I want to write." She said she wanted to write a memoir, and she said she didn't know where to begin.
Mm-hmm.
And so the advice I give to people, it sounds grotesque, but it makes sense. I say vomit everything out, and then clean it up later.
Right.
Because if you go trying to edit it as you're writing, you'll never get it done.
Right.
So just get it all out and then go back and clean it up and make it better.
Exactly.
But I know for me, if I sit there going, I'll start when I get this part of the book, or I'll start when I get this, I never start. But when I just start with, at least, even if all I have is Once Upon a Time, type that out. Like, start with Once Upon a Time, and then when you get more, you type more.
Right. I work full time. I have 3 kids. I have a lot of responsibilities at home. Sometimes I'm able to get 2 sentences in before I have to stop. And to me, that's progress, because you actually sat down and did something for your story.
That must be a handful. What are their ages?
I'm sorry?
What are their ages?
My eldest is 5, and then 3, and then 9 months.
Wow.
So we're quite busy here.
Yes. I have nephews and nieces.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand to the point of where it's temporary.
Right.
Where for me, it's like when they come over, maybe by day 2, I'm like, it's a time to go back home yet.
That's why I try to remind myself it's just a hobby. So when I have time, I do it. When I don't have time, it's no big deal.
Right. So how many do you have now, books?
I've written quite a few, but there's only a certain handful that I usually pay more attention to. A lot of them kind of just like, I just wanted to write some things. But I have a series called the Scout Brook Saga, which is a sci-fi adventure series. Cool. I have 6 books done, 1 more coming next year to finish off the entire thing. I've also started writing an action adventure series, kind of reminiscent of action movies of the 80s and 90s, called the Red Echo series. The first book came out earlier this year, so it's on Amazon right now. And The Hool is my latest one. A lot of people seem to enjoy it so far, so that's made me quite happy. So those are the ones I'm really focused on. I've wrote a few other ones that are they're out there, but I don't usually pay a whole lot of attention to those.
Cool. Well, those are all your questions that I have.
Okay.
I'm just curious.
Sure.
If you can. If you can't, don't worry about it. Because when I first saw the title,
mm-hmm.
the first thing I thought was wool over your eyes. And so I'm trying to figure out, is this a real word, or is this a word you made up, and why is it spelt this way? Or like I said, if you can't tell it because you don't want to ruin the story, then don't. But
I guess you can say I made it up. It sounded to me like an ominous title, because you really probably don't know what it's referring to. It does represent the evil that is in the book.
Okay.
You could reference the entity as the Hool, if that's probably how people might end up remembering it. I don't give the evil presence an actual name, though.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess it is a word that I kind of just made up. To me, it sounded kind of eerie. One of my friends said it should. He said it should just be sound stupid, but for some reason he said it worked. So I'll take that.
An ominous discovery leads to horrifying mystery unfolding over 1,000 miles away. A sinister horror has come to the small Midwestern town of Burroughs, and once it's there, it's already too late. What is happening in Burroughs? How will it end? And what, exactly, is The Who? The Who by Scott Donnelly. Available on Amazon and BN.com.